All right, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming back after lunch. I appreciate that. My name is Noelle LaCharity. I didn't even put my picture up here, so if you want to take a picture, now's your chance. But you could definitely connect with me either on LinkedIn or Twitter. Right now, you might be thinking like, why would I want to do that? But by the end, I might have said something remotely interesting, and you'd be like, oh, I wish I would have wrote that down. So on the off chance, take a quick note. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that we have. We'll also have a little bit of time after this session for those of you who want to kind of catch up then as well. I currently lead in cognitive services, the developer experience, which means I really try to just make using cognitive services easier every day. There's lots and lots of ways that I do that. One of them is doing things like this, so I'm super excited to be here. And as I mentioned, thank you guys for coming. So I always like to start with Emerson. I do lots of talks like this. And I don't know if any of you know this one, but I'm going to share it with you. Maybe I'll change a life or two in here. To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded. Now, I agree wholeheartedly with that, mainly because there's lots of opportunities to win in there. I happen to have 4 kids, so I'm done. Done. I also like gardening. But the reason I think this is important coming into a discussion like this one is mainly because we have an opportunity to build some pretty incredible stuff. And I really want to encourage you to think about, yeah, okay, build good stuff for your business, but also think about how you might use these things, right? Use your power for good. With great power comes, yes, oh my gosh, you are my friends. Okay. So we want to just set the stage with, yeah, okay, good. We have a lot of great tools. You're going to be able to solve some pretty significant business problems with this, but you can solve the world's problems too. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So I have been involved in AI for a while. I will show you one of my early attempts, which is still in production and somewhat successful. But one of the general ideas I want you to understand today is that we want to equip you at Microsoft with a bunch of tools regardless of where you stand in this world of AI, whether you are a developer that is not one of those data scientists, multi-PhD people, whether you are a multi-PhD person, or whether you're somewhere in between. And so we have a set of services, really a collection of services that walk through that entire swath of expertise. One of them is pre-built AI. That's the area that I focus on, which is, I was born and raised in enterprise Java. I co-authored many books on IBM WebSphere. Anyone in the house know that? Remember that product? Oh, 2, awesome. All right, right? It was an old product, but it was how I grew up. I know enterprise Java very well. I've built many, many applications that were hard-coded together, and they paid me to do it on purpose, only to then, about 10 years later, go in and get paid to undo it in the spirit of microservices. So now what we're doing is we're really trying to commoditize, right, the ideas that only very special teams, well-funded teams, got to play around with in the past. And that's the concept of these models, these cognitive services, or these AI programs. We also want to talk about the ability you have to leverage conversational AI easily. Again, I was part of an earlier generation of conversational AI applications, and it wasn't easy, but worse than that, I did a whole lot of stuff that I was doing acoustic modeling, and I was an EJB developer. It was not a skill set that I had naturally, and so now I really, I look back at that and go, oh my gosh, if I had this then, right? That's how we know we've succeeded, when you can look at technology you're using today and it's making your life easier, better, stronger than where you were yesterday. And then of course, at the end of the day, anything you build should be customizable. Anything that you write, you should be able to change, add your own data to, customize the model for, do what we call transfer learning for, right? You should never be trapped in anywhere. So we have lots of different ways that we accommodate that, but I'm sure you've heard this week about Onyx and the ability for us to take anything that you work on within Microsoft's platform and be able to export it into kind of this consortium of different platforms, one being like WinML. Right, so this is our world. Lots of connections, lots of different services. In just a few minutes, I'll show you kind of some of the use cases that we want to focus on. But you can kind of see here, vision, right? Speech, language, knowledge, search. I remember when I first got introduced, I was like, search? Like, how is search a thing? I didn't know that was AI. I use search all the time. And then I ended up being part of a demo. I don't know how many of you had a chance to see it earlier this week, where we used visual search and object detection. Right? And it was a much different story than I've been painting for my users. The ability, for example, rather than my user having to tell me through dropping down menus and clicking on boxes what they want, checking checkboxes of the colors or sizes that they want. Instead, they can just send me a picture and I can figure it out just from that. Frictionless experiences. So we've come a long way. Right? I was not here at Microsoft, but I have been in this world for quite a few years. And we announced several different applications. A few years ago at Build, or actually 2 years ago at Build, we announced the idea of cognitive services, right? And it was one of those things where everyone was like, how's that going to turn out? I actually spent several years working in Amazon and on Alexa, and we had that same thing, right? We had a Fire phone, didn't do so well, and same process happened, right? Where we were like, gee, I hope this Alexa thing takes off. Turns out people like talking to software. As a matter of fact, they love it, and it doesn't even have to be that great at first. So this is your entry point as a developer. If you learn to take advantage of services that make natural language understanding easy, and you can embed it in your applications like today, that's a win for you. And I'm hoping by the end of this, you'll have some pretty tactical examples that you can walk away with and start using. So of course, right, I'm very much hoping that you understand the amount of power that you have, because a lot of these models, again, companies built them and kind of kept them to themselves, and only developers in that company got a chance to build them. We have all of these pre-built cognitive services that you just need a RESTful endpoint or an API call to be able to engage with. I was able to, earlier on Monday, I demoed building a custom language model, which meant I taught a default language model special code words, like, anyone in that talk? Oh yeah, you don't count. GP Floor, who said that? All right, you totally get a shirt. I have some, so you both can have one. You can come up after, hopefully. I know what they look like, so you guys over here, your time is coming. But awesome, but yeah, we were talking about teaching it cryptonyms, like the CIA code word language. And I was able to do that in like 4 days. I built the model in less than an hour, and it took me a few days to kind of figure out, nuances. 4 days. Like, I've had to do much lesser things, and it's taken me months, sometimes years. So we have a huge amount of power. Cognitive services is going to give us the ability to change what we see, change applications you've been building, right? The main goal of this talk is that everything you're doing right now, you can add a line of code, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe even 100, and it would still be worth it to be able to change your application to leverage models that you had no access to before. So let's jump right in. I couldn't help but put a superhero up, right? Like, if you can, you should. But our cognitive services, they're of course intelligent in the sense that we've built these models, trained these models in order to be as usable by you as we could. They're business ready. You saw earlier, right? GDPR compliant, right? They're ready for you to leverage. They're easy to deploy because we create endpoints that you can consume in languages that you already know. So if you are a C# person, if you are a .NET person, if you are a Node.js person, right? Or Java, or Python, it is not a barrier for you to use these anymore. And that's my goal, of course, being in dev experience, is hearing what language, someone in the back would be like, what about Go? Yeah, sure, we'll do that one too. Right, give us a minute, we'll have to do that. But yeah, sure, right? We want to hear from you, whatever language you're building in, let's create an endpoint for you to be able to leverage these models. So you came in here because I did say 10 things I was going to share with you. So I broke it up a little bit. This is based on some research that was done both internally and externally. But I do want to share with you some things about AI. I didn't want to call it AI, right? Because people would come in and then they leave and be like, I didn't build a model. I feel like I was cheated. So intelligent apps is a very fair way to say like what we're trying to do. AI will help you as a developer, one, by quickly turning an idea into code. Right? Being able to hear from the business, hey, can you do this? And what before would have been a 3-month POC or even a 3-week POC, now you can do in a couple hours. Like I said, with that JFK files, I heard the demo, and then literally like that afternoon, which was like a week and a half ago, we were like, man, wouldn't it be cool if we could? And we did it. Like, went to a thing, I recorded my own audio. It was impressive to me to be able to create my own synthesized voice pretty quickly. So quickly turning an idea into code, this will change what you do and how you spend your time. Also, precision planning in projects. Wouldn't it be nice? I know all of you love that time when your PMs come up and say, great, let's do story points, right? I see the joy already. It's like bubbling up. Wouldn't it be awesome if we could instead, right, have PMs simply turn on a timer when it starts, turn off the timer when it's done, and then over a series of days, weeks, months, be able to actually use that data to make predictions on similar types of projects with similar types of effort, right? It doesn't, of course we want your input still, and some of you might love the story point hour, so we could still do that. But many of us, right, are like, shouldn't we know how much something, we've done this 100 times. Shouldn't we know how much that's going to be? Like how much effort that's going to be, how many resources we're going to need? Yeah, we should. And AI can help you do that. And a lot of our tooling is helping us do that as well. And that leads me kind of to the next one. One of my favorites, I used to be heavily involved in COEs, or cause of error analysis. Every time something went wrong, we had to write a very significant amount of work into a doc that would explain what went wrong and how it will never, ever happen again. The interesting thing about this is that every time I wrote one, I was writing it net new. I had no database, right? Maybe there was a database, but what, I'm gonna search through a database to see if it has the same words that I used, that I called the defect the same thing. Like there was just too many variables, and it never turned out okay. Like I always was writing a bunch of that net new every time. Wouldn't it be interesting though if we could identify bugs, right? Identify bugs based on a trajectory of issues that we've been tracking through all of our projects, or better yet, be able to come up with remedies because we've identified these problems and their solutions in a way where we can train a model to predict that that problem is going to happen. These are things that you can use, like this is behind the scenes, right? The customer doesn't know any of this. This is just you making your life better. When something goes wrong in production, you could say, oh, let's look at, oh, wait, better yet, right? Things never go wrong in production. Wait, okay, I might have lost you, I'm sorry. Let's go on. So using production data, oh, this is one of my favorites. So, again, working on products at the company I mentioned earlier, there were 300,000 features in that product. And we worked on them all like they were all important because they were all someone's baby in the company, right? Someone had this idea and it became their child, and they're like, oh yeah, make sure we get that out. And no one ever used that feature, but I was still stuck deploying it on a Sunday night. This is the idea of using data, using production data, and a lot of tools, you guys might be doing this today, some of you, using telemetry data from how your users are using the software that you have, how they're using your website, how they're using your mobile app, how they're using your client applications, and using that data to prioritize what you do, driving your roadmap based on what customers are actually doing. You know how many features would fall away? And granted, it's a philosophical change, right? Amen. It would be amazing. And this is like what I never read my notes, but in my notes I think I put like the ultimate customer-obsessed development model, right? Be customer-obsessed about like the stuff people want to build and build more of that, as opposed to what some of us do today, which is not that. So I think it's just one thing you should think about. How could you add, and it's not as hard as you think, telemetry data to get an understanding of what customers are using, and then how can you get your business to buy into building what your customers want? It's not as hard of an argument as you would think, but it's a conversation that I'm surprised not many organizations are even having, right? They're just trucking down that, hey, we've got 500 features. Those 500 features went out 2 years ago, and 6 months ago, and 3 months ago, and they're going to go out 3 months from now, 6 months, right, with no real change to that cadence. It's time to change it up. So before we go into kind of the next series, I wanted to kind of roll back to that, quickly turn an idea into code, and invite our first demo up here really quickly. And he's, Andrew, if you want to join us. And Andrew is actually going to, I've got some interesting animations going on. Andrew is going to show you a very cool tool that can help you do this, like, oh, I've got this cool idea, I want to use this service, how do I build a project right away?
How do I switch to the screen?
I think it's 6.
All right. Hi, everyone. Is my mic on? There we go. Hey. I'm a program manager on the Visual Studio team. And what I'm here to show you is how you can get started really quickly to start working with your cognitive services. So for the past month or so, I've partnered with Noel to identify some of the popular connected services, cognitive services. And essentially, if you go into File, New Project, right now, we've got an ASP.NET Core web application. As soon as you start up your project, you'll see an overview page. And under the Overview tab is a Connected Services tab. What we've got here are a series of different Azure services that you can connect to. And as you can see on the bottom, we've added 4 new cognitive services. So for you to add that, all you have to do is, it's an extension on the marketplace right now. If you haven't done this before, just click on Find More Services at the bottom, type in Cognitive Services. There it is. I've already gone ahead and installed it, but you just need to hit download, and it'll add all 4 of these services up here. Next step is you just have to click on it. This will replace the step of you having to go all the way out to the Azure portal, type in the resource name, procure that resource, figure out the connection string endpoints. Essentially, this will keep you in the IDE. It'll pull up your subscription. By default, we'll create a new cognitive service, but if you want, you can always hit edit and change your resource groups, change your locations, and so on. And then essentially, it's as easy as clicking add. What we're doing in the background as well is we're installing the NuGet packages, and then we're going to add all of the connection information into appsettings.json. So, pop back to that in just a second. Once you've added the connected service, you'll see that the specific cognitive service you added will show up as a folder under connected services. If you go into your app settings, you will see all the cognitive services information that you need to access. And as I mentioned before, we've gone ahead and installed the NuGet packages for the specific cognitive service for you. Now, if you're getting started and you don't really know what the heck is vision? As soon as you configure this cognitive service, you may have noticed that we had a browser pop up. This is a tutorial to help you quickly get started. We've gone through the first series of steps right here already, and right under it is, if I'm pointing at the right thing, there we go. It's a demo that you can work with right away. Thanks. And so, yeah, support right now is for ASP.NET Core. You will have to have 15.7 installed, which is the latest version. And as I mentioned, we have the 4 cognitive services: computer vision, face API, text analytics, and search. If you guys have any feedback in terms of other services you'd like to see or other project types you'd like to see supported, please let us know and we can work to get that added.
Great, thank you. Wait, before you leave.
Yes.
So Andrew and I kind of got this idea like a month and a half ago or something, like not long ago at all. And some of you might have already heard of something called AI tools. And this is kind of part of that same collection of tooling because it's just another way for you inside the tool. But I just wanted to maybe give you an opportunity to tell the story of like why this was built or why did we decide to create something like this?
I mean, as I said, it was like primarily getting started, right? We wanted folks to spend all the time they can in their code and not spend 45 minutes trying to go through different portals, find the right service,
That's right.
learn about it.
And really for people like me, right? I had, when I joined Microsoft, I had never used any of this tooling before. And so now it becomes easy for me to consume this where there are other tools, but it requires you to know like even how to set up a project. It dumps you right into like you've already got your keys. And I'm like, how do I get those keys and which one do I need? So it was great. Well, thank you for coming. I appreciate your help.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
So Andrew will be out at the, what is it called? Azure Developer Tools booth in the expo. If you guys have any questions, you can ask him questions there. He has to actually run there now. We also did a recording of this as well as the next demo that we'll be doing. So you'll be able to see this kind of in slow motion and have a little bit of guidance along with it after this session. So thank you, Andrew. So now the next thing I want to do is show you, right? So the last one was how you get smarter, right? Things we can do to just make our processes as developers better, things that we can think about. But I'm also interested in sharing with you how AI is going to improve your applications. My goal is that you will start to look at problems. So I, for example, was in a meeting with a bunch of technical managers and they were discussing a business problem. And I said, maybe foolishly out loud, like, can't machine learning do that we're like about to spend a bunch of time on? And their answer was almost immediate, no, we don't, no, probably not, no. No, like they said no, and that was the end, and I left that meeting and ultimately left that company. But now I'm here and very happy. But there are things that you get, and I'm hoping like when you buy a new car, right, the day you buy it, you think you're the only one with a DeLorean, and then you get a DeLorean and everyone has one. Same idea, right? When you start to think, when you get introduced to these, and granted, some of you may already know them, but I'm hoping to increase your awareness of the types of apps you can solve with cognitive services and AI in general. And now when you hear that problem pop up, don't take no for an answer. First of all, because you can build the POC by yourself in less than a day. But more importantly, like just let that filter start bringing in these ideas and say, oh my gosh, I wonder if I could use cognitive services to solve that problem. Try it. You'll be surprised at how quickly you can determine whether or not it'll be valuable. So frictionless human interaction, I like the term because, right, it means like just easygoing. We can make our applications easy to communicate with. So think about it. Right now, we've built our applications. Actually, when I was thinking about this topic, I was like, we've built applications to be, really hard to use, with Windows. And I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't say that. But with Windows and toolbars and buttons, right? Things that people don't naturally do. Like, granted, we've taught the world, and they all learned, right? People know how to use our software. They know how to click our buttons. They know how to use smartphones because we forced them to do that. But that is no longer necessary. And here's an interesting tidbit. I have 4 kids, right? from like teens to tots. My 1-year-old, 3-year-old, and even my teenagers have no interest in typing anything at all, ever. So if they ask for something, they're always using their voice, whether it's on a phone, on a smart device, on their computer. They are always using their voice. Now, fast forward 20 years, when these people are developers, they're going to expect to be able to say stuff and code, right? Have their words turn into logic, or have their words execute function. So just be aware, like over the next 10 years, things are gonna change because the kids today have a different expectation. It seems weird to us, but you might recall, maybe you don't, but our grandparents do. They were all weirded out when like the person stepped out of the elevator and said, nope, you're riding this puppy by yourself, just press the button. Like that was a scary day, right? So same idea here. It seems scary, but it's actually gonna be great. Improving how our experts get their information. Augmenting expert interactions. Think about, for example, call centers. How could we keep call center information at their fingertips? We also have enabling simple human capabilities, right? So this is a very interesting example. In India, they have many, many, many different types of applications. So they're all, let's say in this case, it's like trains. They have, I think, 200,000 train cars. This is their solution today. A person, a human being, walks around and writes down every number in that train yard before the trains go for the day, right? So that they can keep track of them. A person. So when we say enabling simple human capabilities, what we're talking about is going in and now using computer vision and object detection to pull off that number as they're coming in and out of that station, so a human does not need to track 200 trains by themselves or individually. So those are the types of enterprise kind of examples. Unsupervised learning, this is the future. Today, I want to show you a little bit of code of my old, what I call weak AI. Right? It's AI to a few people because, oh goodness, let's see if I can plus this up. Right? It's AI to a few people because when you call this application with your voice, right, similar to like a bot, and you say, hey, give me my affirmation for today, it comes back every day and gives them a unique affirmation, a unique statement. I have many of them like this, like give me an idea for a kindness, whatever it is. I hard coded in, at first 25, it's now up to like 300, but it's an array. And I use a mathematical little randomization to randomize it. But to the people that use it, they're like, wow, that's amazing. How did it know? And I haven't heard the same one twice. This is so fantastic, right? But why is it amazing? Because I, Noelle, number one, hard-coded all the options, but then I also physically programmed every utterance they might say to invoke it. Every single one. I worked for a bank, built their voice interface. We wrote 7,000 ways somebody could say, transfer money from one account to another. Did you know people use bucks in a voice transaction? Like actually say that out loud to a device. I didn't think it was true either, but it's amazing, right? So but it worked because we thought about it, and actually it didn't. It failed first. We found out it failed, and then we added it going, I can't believe they said that, right? But that's weak AI. It's still AI because the computer is doing this work, right? We are building it to do that work. But strong AI is instead using things like entity resolution, right? Being able to let it create these synonyms for things as we build out different ways of interacting with our software. So really important to take a look at how it evolves. So today, you don't have to jump into the unsupervised learning model, especially if you're like, what is that? Or I need a data scientist and mine are mad at me, or whatever it is. You don't have to do that. You instead can start with building, right? Many of us have written code that has business processes written right into it. The first step, which I hope many of us did a few years ago, is extract that out, right, and make it a configuration file. Now we're taking it a step further and automating, right, using things like chef recipes and what's another one, Puppet, right, to automate those configurations. These are all steps, right, little weak AI steps in the direction of moving towards a model that can make these decisions for us. And that leads me kind of to the next section. 5. 2. All right. So unsupervised learning, again, it's a bit of a step. I mention it because it's important for you to understand that it's an option that you have available, but it's not for everything, and there are 100 types of applications that you can build without having to go there yet. You will be there eventually, but not yet. All right, so let's take a look at kind of this concept of AI and using custom AI. So I built, again, earlier this week, I built out a custom language model to teach a default language model. How many in here know what a language model is? Okay, so let me start there. And you'll know it as soon as I probably say it, right? But it's classic speech to text, right? If your user says something, you need to be able to figure out how your application is going to do something. And so in the middle, there has to be something that transcribes that audio into text so your application can do its job. Now, models that are available readily are like the US model, a Spanish model, a French model. But they're based on like standard words in the vocabulary. It's not based on like words like GP floor or special words, brand names, product names, service names. So what we want to do is enable you to have the ability to take your specific business language, your cryptonyms or acronym, right? We all have acronyms in our company, some of them like to our detriment. Now we can teach our voice-enabled applications to understand those words and even say those words exactly as we say them in our companies. Really interesting stuff. So we prepare the data is a little bit of work because, yeah, you do have to do some audio work to do it. You have to train it, which means you have to upload the audio to a web portal. It's tough stuff, I'm telling you. And then once you train it, you'll have to deploy it, which again is a mouse click that you'll make in the portal to create an endpoint. But it's very simple to do. The hard part is coming up with the ideas. So let's talk about different ways that you can build apps. And I'm going to go through these quickly because I'm going to dive into actual real examples, which I think will pull it together for you, hopefully nicely. Right? One is right now, whatever you're working on, what would it be like if someone could talk to it instead? Simple user, like one thing. And what I usually say is look at your application and find the one thing that people do. Like if you look at your web app, your mobile app, right, you can find the top 10 things that they do. Pick one of them and voice enable it. And then just have users test it. It doesn't even ever have to go live. And watch their face. Like I'll tell you, the face of my 3-year-old when the lights go on and the face of my dad who's 70 is exactly the same. Like, right? Granted, I was raised on Asimov, so there's a little thing there, but it changes people when they can frictionlessly, right, in the easiest way possible, say words in their own mannerisms and have it understood by your software and then do something with it. So do it, right? It's not hard. For any app you have right now, build a voice UI. Easy. It can be done today. We release speech services in preview right now, a single service to do that. Bots are the new app. You might have heard it said, I think it was said in Harry Shum's session as well as in Joseph Sarash's session. Bots are the new app. Why? Because A, they're easy to build, but you can consume these models and you can create experiences that customers love. This is not like a new thing. We've now demonstrated and seen that customers, I know some of us in here are like, I hate bots, right? I don't want that box to pop up anymore, ask me a question. I know you're a machine, but think about the rest of the planet. Like all the other people. They actually do like them. The feedback has been extremely positive from our consumers. So those are our 10 things. And again, it takes a minute for some of these to digest. And I actually have quite a bit of detail behind these that you'll see in the deck when they are shared. But I wanted to give you a little bit more because sometimes I actually was stopped. I was wearing an iHeart AI and someone stopped me and went, like literally said this to me, and I know some of you want to say this to me yourself, the day of singularity is coming, right? So I just wanted you to know that AI-enabled software, as cool as it is, and as much as it seemingly does, much of it today is the weak AI that you saw. Much of it today is me writing in every single example I can think of and hoping the user says one of those things. We need developers to build and train these models. That will never go away, right? That is a discernment process that will never go away. So let's talk about, very specifically, the actual projects that we're going to be leveraging. So you can see here, right, think about a single business application. You're going to want it to have access to a bunch of knowledge. You're going to want to have access to the ability to interpret however a user is going to communicate with you. And you're going to want it to be easy to build in a framework that's reproducible across as many channels as possible. I call it multimodal development, right? I want to build it once and spread it around. And if a user talks to me on Slack or comes to me in Facebook or comes to me through Cortana on their laptop, I want it all to be the same. The back end is the same. I don't really care where you came from, right? I just want to be able to serve your needs. So that is, again, if you're not doing it today, that should be a switch that you think to make in your brain, that if you're building an app, you should be building for multimodal. You should be building for those skills, right? Regardless of what, assistant you're interested in today, those will all change over the next 10 years. Right? It doesn't matter what they are as long as you're building your software in a way that can easily port to all of them and any of them. So, and then of course, wouldn't it be cool if you could create your own personality for these? So you can imagine going into like Kohl's, and all of a sudden, 5 years from now, Kohl's has a specific voice, right? You walk in, you hear the kiosk, you're like, oh, it's the Kohl's guy, right? Even though it's a bot. You can think about that more like Jeopardy. We all know the Jeopardy jingle. Right? If we heard it, we'd know it, we'd say Jeopardy like that. Every business is now in the sound business. You now have to think about how are you going to sound. And we have a service that launched this week that allows you to create your own acoustic models to be worried about how the environment is, but then also your own custom voice models to change how the bot or the application actually sounds. So here are all the different areas. This actually, again, came from some research we did internally and externally to identify what are the prominent companies in the industry, what AI solutions are they building. This is like the gateway to, my first question when I came into this organization was like, what are we telling people to build? What solutions are we building? And they're like, well, we got this really cool computer vision demo. I'm like, that's awesome. What do I do with that? Exactly. And this answers that. This is not a I can't go through all these boxes. We're going to actually roll this out over the next 6 months. But this is huge to be able to actually go to your business and say, look, here's the business problem, and here are the 5 services we have to be able to solve it. So I am going to show you a couple things. One is the customer intelligence demo. It's actually a compliance demo, really. But it's about redacting credit card numbers. I think it's pretty interesting. And then I'm going to invite Darren up to talk to us about, I hope, anomaly detection. Is that right? All right, good. I named it without his permission, so awesome. So I'll invite him up to do that. So before I get into that demo, I just want to kind of set it up a little bit. And I did add some slides in here for your future reference, because this is the deck they'll share with you. But just so you understand, I'm not going to go through and list every cognitive service we used and all of that, but it's here. So after you see the demo and you want to dive deeper, you can go back to the deck and see what we used to build it. You'll also see some links that I'll show you at the end for how you can find the demos that we did. So there's a bunch of different challenges. I tried to pull from across a collection of, and these are real customer statements. One, the retail one, right? Customers want to be able to find the jacket they saw on TV, right? Or get a cheaper version of the jacket they saw on TV. How can they do that? How can we enable them to do that? For travel, we want to prevent fraud by ensuring photos match the description, right? And they're not listed all over the place on other sites, right? Kind of like a spam effort. Redaction, we have hundreds of thousands of docs, and they all have credit card information handwritten on them and stored somewhere. We probably need to fix that and protect our customer data. Entertainment, search, and content recommendation, right? It's based on title and description. We want to use additional metadata, right? Lots of us have gotten used to other forms of media that allow us to search on all sorts of different tags and metadata associated with content. We want to extend that to the entertainment division as well. So like I said, we'll be actually releasing scenarios and tutorials on how to do many of these, but today I'm going to just dive you into the redaction scenario. So as I set that up, I'm going to just talk to you about the use case. as I go into, oh, I guess I don't have to hit that button. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. So the use case here is a customer, right, came to the team and said, hey, oh, wait, before I do that, I'm so sorry. Wait. I want to share with you the actual team that did this work first. Can you see it? All right, awesome. There we go. So Sean Roberts is the advisor. George Earl got this idea, and this is one of those like ideas to code moment. You hear the problem described by the customer. They're saying, oh my goodness, we are in trouble. We have a ton of handwritten credit cards across hundreds of thousands of documents in our data lake. We need to fix that immediately because we are no longer PCI compliant. Anyone know what that means, right? PCI? Okay, good. I can't give you all t-shirts, but good job. But yes, PCI compliant, bad, not good. Customers, not a fan of you not taking care of their credit card information. So they need to scrub this data immediately. So using the JFK files as an example, right, he had saw it. This is part of that filter turning on, right? He saw the JFK files. He saw this problem and went, I wonder if I could use the redaction stuff I saw in that one, which is public on GitHub, all that code is available, and kind of rework it a little bit to redact on purpose as opposed to finding redactions. And so I'm going to demonstrate that for you now. I did invite them, but I couldn't get them here to demo you for Build, but I wanted to give them at least a shout out. You're welcome to connect with them on LinkedIn or Twitter or whatever to ask them questions, or of course I can help connect you as well. Oh, back. All right, cool. So first thing I want to do is show you the files. So this is just a simplified version of the larger scale project that they are working on. But these are some of the input files, right? So you can imagine, again, this is a organization that has a ton of documents in their data lake, all of them exposing, right? In this case, you could see some number written up here, might be a credit card, certainly a credit card area that we're going to be interested in identifying and just blacking out the whole thing. Let's take a look at a different example. Right here, there's the word American Express and some random numbers, like could be a credit card, might not be, who knows? So let's just check that out. Here's another example, right? This is all things found inside of their, right, examples of things that were found inside of their data lake. So you can see like a birthday maybe, and a series of credit cards, maybe not credit cards, who knows? But we need to go in and do our best to identify, right, this. So we used, or they used OCR in order to do this, because it's not enough to just go, oh, that kind of looks like a credit card number, let's just black it out, right? Instead, we want to provide a little bit more of a pattern match capability provided through our cognitive service to actually say, right, you know, when you type in the first 4 or 5 numbers in your credit card, most systems can tell immediately what, or good systems, can tell you what credit card you're using. You no longer have to click the radio button of the credit card before you type it, right? It should figure it out. How does it do that? We already know, right, what MasterCards start with, Visas start with, et cetera. So we want to use that same knowledge in order to create this redaction. So let's take a look at that configuration. I think it's in here. So we put that in a config.json file. We're going to be passing this into the application that we built. So you'll notice here, oh goodness, let me make that a little bit bigger for you. Maybe. Just kidding. Oh no, okay. Hopefully you guys can see it. That's pretty big. Okay, I think you guys can see it. Right, so you can see here we have, and don't be worried about stuff that's super secret. You can see the output single page is image, right? And then there's a match credit card. And you can see all the different credit cards we're going to check for. Then inside of that, you'll be able to see that we're actually going to check for documents that have a certain tell or a certain indicator that they are of a type. In this case, we're looking for NYS Department of State. Then you'll see these mask points. Remember, there were forms, and in the form, if it's a form, that section is the same on every doc. We don't care what's written in it, right? That section is the same. So if we can identify that section, we can just black that whole thing out. And then finally, or there's a couple different examples, right? One was the form that had the credit card information that you filled out. The other was a doc that had a post-it. I don't think I showed you guys that one. But there's another type of document that they had provided us that said, what happens if I have, right, a Post-it pasted, like attached to a doc with a credit card number? How do I find that? So now we do have the ability through this redaction to do that. So let's actually go into Visual Studio and test this out. So I'm going to go ahead and, so now you've seen the folder that has the images in it. Those are the images we're going to take in. And then we're going to run this redaction, and I'll show you the solution architecture right after this. Let me start it up. But we're going to pass in the folder with the images we want to process, and then we're going to give it the output, we're going to then provide it the JSON configuration file, which tells it exactly what it should do. So I did create a notepad because I felt like exhibition typing might have been a little too tough for me at this moment in the discussion. Even Control-C is tough, people. All right. Oh, boy. Wait, what did they tell me? Alt-Tab. I'm new to this Windows stuff. OK. Oh, I found it. There we go. All right, so it's asking me for the file containing that information. Right, those are where the images are. Now it's asking me for the JSON, which I have here. But you saw me. I pulled it out from this very same directory. So no smoke and mirrors. Control-C. Oh, goodness. Right. And now I'm going to run it. And as it runs, I need to quickly head over to the output file, which was empty, I hope you saw. And as it executes, it's going to start performing that redaction analysis and doing something to these files. So let's go in and take a look at least at the first one while it processes the last one. Right? You can see it was able to, based on that JSON configuration file, figure out where there was potential data, credit card data, and be able to go through and redact it. So just imagine the power of this, right? You now can go through and backpedal through all of the data in your data lake. I don't know about some of your organizations, but I've been in orgs where we've been saving data for a very long time, decades, without really knowing why we were saving it. Like, we knew eventually it would be important, and then we got a whisper of like, oh, big data's coming. And then it came, and we still didn't know what to do with it, right? So that data is just being stored. Now we have the ability, this is just one use case of what we can do with that data. So let's just take a look at a couple more, just so you can kind of see what that output looks like. Right? You'll notice here, why do you think it wasn't blacked out? Because it didn't match that numerical value that we expected for an American Express. So it turns out it's not a credit card number. All right, good. We're not worried about it. Right? And these are rules that we define. Well, we'll go in and we'll define it. In this case, it was able to identify that the first one was fine, but the second and fourth one were actually numbers that we wanted to redact. Right? Make sense? Pretty interesting. And again, this was used leveraging computer vision, OCR, in order to do this, and the work that was done in the JFK files in order to do this work. So real quick, I want to just walk you through that solutions architecture so you can see kind of all the pieces in action. This was in the case my demo failed miserably, and I would have been like dancing, but it worked, so thank goodness. And here's the files. So here's the architecture. You can see here, right, the most important thing I think to focus your attention on in the spirit of time is that bottom row. Right? The first thing that happens is a preprocessor takes in that information, then it extracts out using OCR all of that data, but then we need to actually process that data to determine what's good and what's bad, what needs to be redacted. Then the final processing portion takes the information we've identified, what needs to be redacted, and we black it out. And luckily, like, I don't know if you saw the JFK files, but some of those docs back then, they used like a super see-through black marker. It wasn't even a good attempt. So at least we get to do a really good job here and protect our customer data. Again, just one of the many, many ways that we can provide a solution. Now this, again, is also for your reference a little bit later on as you go through and start thinking about all the different ways that you can leverage this technology. These are all different use cases. The hard thing about them being listed this way is, again, even looking at this like going, ooh, text-to-speech, that sounds cool. How do I use that? What business problem can I solve with that, right? So we're gonna help draw that out for you. Over the next 6 months, we're gonna be releasing lots of content to you guys through our developer portals and resources to keep you going, right? To keep going, oh, there's another example, oh, there's another example. So you can think about just this week, and really only the things that I worked on. I talked about a retail demo, intelligent retail. And we used object detection in a front-facing camera on a kiosk to be able to do dynamic advertising, right? Oh, you're wearing this brand. Let me show you that that brand's on sale for 30% off over here, right? Being able to leverage speech to text and allow people to speak to that kiosk when they're in the store. How are they gonna do that? Isn't it noisy and won't others? Oh yeah, we can build an acoustic model using our new speech services in order to accommodate for those weird, crazy conference room-like settings or mall-like settings, right? So there are hundreds of ways to do this. We are very excited to share with you all of them, but I do want to leave you, and we want to give you guys a chance to come up and ask questions if you want to. So before we do, though, I want to give Darren a chance to come on up, and he is going to demonstrate for the last one. I'll let him kind of set it up, but the last demonstration, and then I'll come in and close it up. So we'll just, I think you're number 6. Great. Whenever you're ready. Are you mic'd? Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Silly. All right, you tell me when you're ready, and I will hit the magic button. So I asked Darren pretty last minute to do this, so it would be awesome if you could give him a nice little warm welcome to the stage.
Cool.
And you're live, I think, maybe.
Yep. Okay, no subtitles.
Oh. Did you plug in? Oh, you're on 8. My bad, that was me.
Cool. Hot swapping. Thank you for the intro. So we spent a lot of time with the engineering and research teams exploring some of this emerging technology, but then actually working with customers to help them understand and envision the types of scenarios that are now possible. How can we help them solve problems in very innovative and different ways? How do we help them solve problems that, frankly, until now were impossible to solve? And actually, one of the really kind of compelling sets of scenarios that are just starting to emerge are around computer vision. And you saw some of this kind of in the keynote on Monday. Actually, this is a really interesting scenario around sort of amplifying kind of the impact that civil engineers can have around defect detection. And there's been a few of these various defect scenarios from a manufacturing point of view. You have a production line with products going along at a very high speed and using computer vision to actually detect a defect and then actually kind of flag to have that product removed and maybe even train an ML model to understand machine settings upstream that maybe kind of led to that defect actually happening. And of course, you can't have a human standing at a production line staring at one point for hours at a time. It's not a scenario that can be solved today and will lead to products being kind of sent to customers. So this particular scenario around defect detection is actually, can we use drone footage in this case? So this is a huge bridge in Europe across the sea. Actually, if they fly a drone around today and collect kind of video footage of all aspects of that bridge. And then they'll have civil engineers kind of sat there staring at videos, trying to spot kind of defects and so on. So actually part of the challenge was, could we actually train a computer vision model with examples of damage to allow it to go through that video and highlight areas of concern that someone may want to look at. And again, this is not about replacing humans. It is just about enabling them to process more information and surface areas for them to look at. So on the slide here is an example of 3 types of information that's interesting to be able to detect. You have algae on the left, you have cracks, it's really not good, and you also have kind of rust, which might be indicative of a failure in the future. So could we train a model? Absolutely, and I'll kind of show an example of that. But it's not just about doing the AI part of it. Yes, you can get this wonderful data scientist, and now it's kind of democratized. But how do you surface the insight that you're creating? Yes, you've detected rust here and cracks there. Are you just going to give them an Excel spreadsheet with a list of kind of latitude and longitude kind of in there? Or are we going to use something like Power BI, you can see on the bottom, and actually visualize in kind of 3D space where those defects are, where the heat maps are, maybe kind of have a time kind of view over time to actually visualize it. So something that's really overlooked with some of these more science-y type projects is the experience, the end user. Who is going to benefit from that data, and what's the right way to surface it to them? Now, if I find any more projects that just have data scientists on, with no developers and no user experience people, I will continue to get cross. So let me switch across to a demo. So the demo that you're going to see, let me get rid of that, is a simple test harness that we built. We've actually got it working in Power Apps as well. So actually this is, conceptually, you can have a folder on your PC, and I've got the images kind of here. And in one folder, you put examples of images that show cracks, one of algae and one of cracks. And there is a it's fairly democratized now with a custom vision cognitive service. You upload those photos and say, right, this image has a crack in, and you draw a box around examples of where the crack is or where the rust is, for example. So you're just teaching the model, here in this box is a crack. And again, the training process, it will go through and learn what the patterns are, and the more data you give it, kind of the more accurate it gets. So let me show you the damage detection scenario. So I'm going to go ahead and select an image. We're going to grab that image and just send it to a web service endpoint. So this is running, this model happens to be running in the cloud. There is absolutely no technical reason why we could not run that on the device or actually on the drone, or on the edge, as it were. So I go ahead and select an image. We'll upload it, and what we should see is the computer vision model will then analyze that and will send me an image back. And it will send me an image back with some nice, hopefully, pretty kind of boxes on to show where the cracks are. But the really crucial thing that you'll see on the right-hand side, it always takes a while the first time round. So you can see here, you can see kind of the crack here. There's a crack detected here, and we've got rust detected there. The more interesting part is on the right-hand side. We're actually extracting data from an image. We've analyzed it. You can visually see the boxes, but we're creating data which can then be put in a data store, and you can search, and we've got the latitude and kind of longitude as well. So I can go ahead and select something else, maybe this one. It's got lots of algae on it. Again, these bounding boxes are kind of drawn by the service to kind of help you as a human highlight where the various aspects are, and that should come back momentarily. There you go. So there's a lot of kind of algae in that particular scenario. So it's actually the data that we're extracting is the more interesting scenario. Of course, this could be individual frames. It can be a video stream and so on. They can go and do that. But this type of scenario is the thing that really gets people excited. The impact here of being able to automate through hours of footage and just say, look, watch this part of the video and this part of the video. We've also got the latitude and longitude of where the drone was. So that then allows you to plot this data onto like a three-dimensional map or otherwise as we go through. And just to give you a bit of a sense, there is a public data set called COCO. I can't remember, Common Objects in Context or something. And again, you can do interesting scenarios like a photo of my dog, where it's just trained with real-world objects, and what it should do is detect that it can see a dog and the data on that side. But more interestingly, you'll have seen things like the Face API, which lets you, if it has a picture which is a complete front-on view of somebody's face and you can see the eyes, we can see a face. But actually in this scenario, you can see that in a pretty bad quality photo and far away, we can detect people. So actually we've trained it with examples of human-type shapes, and you can count how many people are in a retail store. You can count how long people have spent at a particular product and so on. So we're seeing lots of interesting scenarios from a kind of retail kind of perspective. So that was me kind of done I think, on the defect detection. And there's no shortage of kind of scenarios in this space. I think one of the other really popular ones is finding objects inside a building. We spent some time in a hospital looking at nurses and doctors and some of their workflow, and they spent a lot of time finding stuff, like finding wheelchairs and beds. They're left in corridors all around the building. So they've already got CCTV, so we can train a model with examples of wheelchairs and beds and oxygen pumps, and somebody can go up to an assistant or their phone or a PC and say, where is the nearest wheelchair right now? And again, we're collecting data from the physical environment. Really, really simple scenario. Anyone in this room could write that in a couple of hours, provided you've got the images, you've got data, and you surface it up. So there's so much potential, but just reinforcing the experiences aspect, you need to focus on the experience. What's the end user's goals? What are they trying to do? What takes them so long? And it's only by doing that do you get kind of magical experiences.
That's right. Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you. Yeah, when I saw that demo, I was really impressed to be able to see like just things that I would have done for fun actually be a project you could get paid to build. Now I think about these things all the time. So I just want to close out here for the last couple minutes, and then I'm going to give you a few minutes to come up and ask questions if you have any. But just remind you, right, there's one of those slides that you'll see in this deck when it's provided to you is a collection of services. Computer vision is an easy option if you tend to be visually oriented, but speech and language can be added to any application, right? It would be interesting to see us be able to do that. You have so much power at your fingertips. You have the opportunity to do incredible things. And I will remind you, right, in addition to building awesome things that like make money for companies, think about doing something that changes the planet, makes people happy, brings some joy. And if you want to connect with us, I do have a series of resources here. We have a LinkedIn group. All of the examples, they're being loaded now, so they're on GitHub. You can connect with us on Facebook. There's an AI for Devs group. And this is just a place where we'll post videos as we make them, GitHub repo demos as we make them, and Stack Overflow, I'm sure you know what that is, so I'll just explain it. And then User Voice is where we actually take in some support information. So let's say you're like, hey, does it do this? Or why doesn't this work? Anything that would get kicked out of Stack, you could put in User Voice. But also product suggestions. You have a use case and you can't figure out exactly where it fits. Use User Voice. We are literally watching that every single day, and we would love to connect with you. So thank you so much for coming. I hope it was all you wanted it to be. Don't forget to fill out your evals, and remember what your mom said if you don't have anything nice to say. No, I'm just kidding. Be honest. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know what you'd like to see next year, and thanks for coming to Build.